Okay, so get ready because today we're really diving deep into how we discover new drugs and how it's all changing.
Absolutely.
We're talking about a revolution in how we find new treatments, and it all starts with tons of data
Yeah.
and some really incredible computing power.
Yeah, it's really a fascinating new frontier.
Yeah.
If you imagine like trying to map out every single way that a drug interacts with the human body, be this just tangled web of connections,
Yeah.
right? And then imagine trying to do that for millions and millions of different chemical compounds. And
Yeah.
that's really the challenge that we're facing with this traditional drug discovery.
Yeah, and when you lay it out like that, it just seems like incredibly daunting. And like you said, a tangled web and just the time involved.
Exactly. And is daunting.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, traditional drug development,
Hmm.
it's kind of like searching for a needle in a haystack, except the haystack is the size of a planet
Right.
and the needle is microscopic,
Yeah.
and it might be disguised as something else entirely.
Right.
It can take over a decade and billions of dollars to bring a single new drug to market
Oh, wow.
using traditional methods.
So how do we even start to speed up this process and make it more efficient?
Right.
Well, that's where this expert's article comes in.
Yeah.
They talk about these really amazing databases that are chock full of information, and it just seems like such a treasure trove of information.
They're massive. I mean, we're talking about things like PubChem,
Yeah.
which has information on over 100 million chemical compounds,
Wow.
and the Guide to Pharmacology, which maps out how drugs interact with our bodies on like a molecular level.
So we've got these massive libraries of data,
Yeah.
but how do we actually start to make sense of it all?
Right.
It's like having all the pieces of a puzzle, but no picture to guide you.
Yeah, it's like having all the sheet music in the world, but you don't know how to read music.
Exactly.
So that's where things get really, really interesting. Instead of trying to piece together this puzzle by hand, researchers are now turning to the power of cloud graph databases.
Okay, so now I'm really intrigued.
Yeah.
Tell me more about these cloud graph databases and why they're so revolutionary when we talk about drug discovery.
Okay, so think of it this way. A traditional database is kind of like a spreadsheet.
Okay.
It's great for organizing information,
Huh?
neat rows and columns, very orderly.
Mm.
But a graph database is more like a map of connections where you can actually see how everything is related to everything else.
Okay, so instead of just looking at these long lists of data, we're actually talking about visualizing a network of connections.
Exactly.
I can see how that would be a total game changer when you want to understand something as complex as how drugs interact with each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And one platform that's making huge waves in this field is Neo4j's AuraDB. It's specifically designed to handle the kind of data we see in drug discovery, all this complex interconnected stuff.
So with AuraDB, researchers can actually visualize those relationships, right? Like you were saying, you can see the connections between the drugs, their targets, their side effects, maybe even potential synergies with other treatments.
Exactly. And this is where it gets really, really cool. Our expert highlights this case study involving a family of proteins called aurora kinases. They play a really important role in cell division, and when they malfunction, it can lead to things like cancer.
Okay, so using AuraDB to look at those aurora kinases and the drugs that interact with them, what did researchers find? Anything unexpected?
Yes, several really interesting things came to light. First, they found drugs that could actually hit multiple aurora kinase targets at the same time,
Oh, wow.
which is a huge deal because a lot of diseases, especially things like cancer, involve really complex pathways with lots of moving parts.
Right. It's not just one thing going wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So hitting multiple targets at once could be the key to developing much more effective treatments.
It's like a multi-pronged approach instead of just targeting one thing at a time. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
What else did they find?
Well, they also found some drugs that showed this surprising level of specificity, meaning they were really precise in targeting only the aurora kinases and not other proteins. And that's huge for minimizing side effects.
Which, let's face it, is a major drawback of a lot of current cancer treatments.
Exactly.
So, more effective treatments with fewer side effects. It sounds like we're talking about a whole new era of personalized medicine.
We are, and here's where it gets even more exciting. Our expert talks about this open source Python library called artflib neo4j. Have you heard of this?
Okay, I have to admit, even for someone like me who loves to geek out on this stuff, artflib Neo4j sounds a little technical.
It's all right.
Break it down for me. What's so special about it?
So basically, it's like a translator.
Okay.
It makes it way easier for researchers to actually work with AuraDB.
Oh,
Think of it like this. It allows scientists to speak the language of ORDB.
So it's opening up this really powerful tool to a much wider group.
Exactly, and that's the key here. When more researchers can access these databases and contribute their own findings, the pace of discovery skyrockets.
It's like they say many hands make light work,
Exactly.
but in this case, it's many minds make groundbreaking discoveries.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And this collaborative approach is so essential for tackling something as complex as human health. It's not just about individual labs working in their own silos anymore.
Right. It really feels like a paradigm shift in how we think about developing new drugs.
It really is.
It used to be such a slow and almost accidental process.
A lot of luck involved.
Yeah, and now we're talking about a future where treatments are personalized, not just to your disease, but to you as an individual.
Yeah, personalized medicine has been this kind of holy grail for a while now.
Right.
And this approach, this data-driven approach, might actually be the way we get there.
Yeah, it's really exciting. And it's not just about the big diseases either, right?
Yeah. Right. This technology could be huge for developing treatments for rare diseases that have been neglected for years because they're so complex or because they affect such a small group of people.
Absolutely. It's really amazing to think that we might already have the cures to some of these diseases hidden away in all this data we've collected over the years. We just need the right tools and the right people to unlock them.
Wow, that's a powerful thought.
It is.
Like you said, we're really just scratching the surface here.
This deep dive has just been a tiny glimpse into the future of medicine, where data and technology and collaboration all come together to totally change how we think about healthcare.
It's a future I am so here for. And for everyone listening, maybe this deep dive sparked an idea or a question that could lead to the next big breakthrough in medicine.
Right. Because you never know where that next big discovery is going to come from.
Absolutely. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
Or a single deep dive.
Exactly.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive into data-driven drug discovery. I feel like we've covered a lot of ground today, but I hope you're all walking away feeling excited about the future of healthcare. Thanks for joining us.